Liverpool go into this clash, according to the SPI, as favourites, 44%. You turn the clock back to when they met at Anfield. Of course, it was a dreadful match, United parking the bus. We don't expect anything different.
Well, I'm going to just, with all these predictions, it's a guessing game. I'll sit in the fence with a draw. There's been 4 draws in the last 4 outings between these teams. I think that tells the story. No, I don't think we're going to see what we saw at Anfield, because that was dire.
Why?
Because United are at home. United are at home. There's more of an emphasis on them to attack.
Do you think he will, though, Craig?
I think
against this.
Well, I think he'll play it cautious, but that's just the way he always does it. But I don't think there'll be a complete defensive structure that we saw at Anfield. I think it'll be a more open game, and that might just suit Liverpool.
I'll be surprised if it's more open from Mourinho's viewpoint. But what I think about Liverpool, they're a more balanced side. I think they've got a few more months under the belt. Van Dijk's come in, steady the back line. Robertson's really playing very, very well. And he seems to have that. He's got players available. He seems to have a balanced midfield. Oxlade-Chamberlain, never saw that coming with him. I mean, what was that when he was the Arsenal? And then when you talk about the front three and the movement of Firmino, I just think for this United back four, I think he's got a little bit too much. So I don't see how Mourinho can do anything but park the bus.
So bad was the performance, we're hearing that apparently Neymar wants to leave.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who you believe and listen to. If you listen to PSG, they're saying he's not for sale at any price. If you listen to his dad, who spoke to ESPN Brazil last week, said that Neymar is happy in Paris and he wants to stay. However, if you read and believe what's in Spanish newspapers, he wants to go back to Spain, whether that's Real Madrid or Barcelona. Even Marquinhos, his own teammate in Paris after the game against Real Madrid, said we're not sure if he will be there next year. And even Antero Henrique, the PSG sporting director, who's been asked by agents that he's meeting or even players who's meeting for next season, will Neymar be at the club? And he said, I can't guarantee that. So it's a big mystery at the moment.
Jules, this is an extraordinary story. How's it been? How are people reacting in France? Because I imagine some people just say, do you know what? Just go, sling it.
That they recruited him for the money they're paying him as well. No one, whoever buys him, will never give him that salary again. So it's a really strange one.
That last shot of him balancing, how many times have we talked about that?
Yep.
The balancing stuff in his head and just...
What do you make of all this, Craig?
Well, look, first and foremost, this thing with his dad that keeps... I don't know, but we've talked about this.
Close to his dad.
When we were playing, there we go. I tried that. I tried that in our digital room. It's not easy, by the way. I think I got my shoe the wrong way around. That's another story. When we were playing, my dad was sat in his house having a cup of tea, watching the television, reading the newspaper, minding his own business. What's all this with Dad?
No, but his dad has been instrumental in his moves, hasn't he, throughout his career? He's very close in that
and
sense.
there maybe lies some of the problems.
But if we could just move away from Neymar's dad.
Yes, but my point is, if I was the owners of PSG, and I know they're extremely rich, but if I'd shelled out that amount of money on a player, right, and they won't be blaming him. The blame will fall at the doorstep of Unai Emery.
Sure.
But they'll want to make sure that they are bringing other players to the club within their financial fair play mechanism that's going to be an issue for them, that they're going to be adding to Neymar, right? They don't want to have spent less than a year ago this huge outlay on a guy who potentially is already causing problems, right? That's the last thing they want. But that was always the danger that they were getting themselves into with this guy.
Well, Craig, it already sounds like he's causing problems internally in the dressing room. Look, he's just come from Barcelona. He was learning under one of the greatest players that's ever walked the face of the earth, right? The way to play the game, the way to go about getting kicked. You know, when we play against Atletico Madrid and Atletico Bilbao, it's not exactly a cakewalk. It's a physical league. So he's got to learn from Messi. So it's his duty, when signed for PSG, to raise that team, to raise the players around him. Not to be selfish against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu and say, I'm going to dribble through this whole team, because that was ridiculous. If he has combination play, which he never had with Cavani, maybe he would elevate the side. But it's his selfish attitude that he's got to this project at PSG that is his downfall.
For all the furore over Arsenal's malaise outside the current top four in the Premier League, they're still in the Europa League, of course. They've got a first leg lead from the San Siro as well as part of their 2-0 win. If they win the Europa League, Paul, is Wenger safe?
No, absolutely not. Look, there's so much wrong with the football club. Look, it was a fantastic result. I think the fact that Ramsey was back in that group with his box-to-box play, I thought he was the glue that held it all together. Welbeck with his pace helped matters. But this is a very young AC Milan side. They're not. Everybody's looking back to the bygone years. They're nowhere near that side. They've had a little bit of a resurgence in Serie A, yes, but this is not a great Milan side. So nobody should be getting carried away with this result. It's a nice result and it buoys people up. But when you listen to Wenger, you think that now that he's gone through the so-called rough period and everybody grows because of this, they're going to need a lot of growing to get out of this. I cannot see him staying past the summer.
Okay, so look at the form. 4 in a row that they lose. They go and win that game, which you say should be taken with a little bit of pinch of salt. How much do you put on the players, or does it always come back to manager?
Well, it always comes back to the manager, but there's a performance level. If you're signed as an Arsenal player, surely you know the history of the football club. Because I'm sure, I grew up around Manchester United, I grew up around Liverpool. I never played for any of those clubs, but I knew the history of those teams. Now, whether you're from Egypt or whether you're from France, it doesn't matter. You know the big teams, and Arsenal's been a fantastic team. You know what's required, and these players that are nowhere near the level that's required. Now, you can say, well, the players are not good enough, so whose fault is that? It's the people that recruited them. So therefore, it always falls back on the manager recruiting Granit Xhaka, recruiting El Neni. Can we get some players that are going to feed Aubameyang? It's all well and good getting a top striker in, but he needs feeding. Like I said earlier, Ramsey coming back into the side, for me, was the glue to that performance. With his runs, with his box-to-box play. That's just hard graft, and that's what they need. They need flair and they need all this ability, but they need some people who can dig in. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the back four because the back four, for me, is a mess.
Okay, so still plenty to work on for Wenger in the months remaining.
Yes.
And beyond, perhaps, as Arsenal contemplate what they might do in the summer. No carrot, of course, of the League Cup. No carrot of the FA Cup this time around. But the Europa League is still on the table. We'll see if they can complete the job against the Rossoneri next week. Welcome along into the Transfer Rater segment for the day. Paul Mariner joins me. We have got 5 crackers for you to take a look at here. Paul, I know you're eager to tell us whether they're going to be hits or misses. We're going to start. We've got a bit of a centre-half feeling to start us off with.
We most certainly have.
Samuel Umtiti from Barcelona to Man United because they need a centre-half.
Well, along with the other 6 or 7 they've got already. Umtiti is a young player. When I see him playing with Piqué, I think he calms him down. I think he's got better and better at Barca. Not for me. Keeping Barca is a miss.
All right, Man United can't get him. Can they get Toby Alderweireld?
Well, one of the reasons maybe they can is because his contract's up in 19. Very concerning. I love this guy. I think he's obviously been injured a lot this season, but I tell you, if United can get him, I'm going to say this would be a massive hit. And maybe you want to go. I'm going to say hit.
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
Moussa Dembele, another player whose contract expires the same season.
Exactly. Similar situation. Look, Dembele's been injured, but recently he's been absolutely fantastic. He's been running the midfield. And with Eriksen in there, it's been unbelievably strong recently for Tottenham. Why would Tottenham want to get to lose this player? I'm not saying they're going to lose Kane, but possibility if Real Madrid come knocking, they lose Kane. So you can't lose key players like this if you're going to be successful. So for all the Tottenham fans out there, I'm sure they want this to be a miss. I'm going to say that this is a miss because I love this guy. I love watching him play.
And no disrespect to Juventus, but you would imagine, given his form, that other people would be interested in him as well.
You would think so, yeah. I think he's top notch.
Okay.
Now he's 100% fit.
All right, Paul Pogba, the Messiah, returning to Manchester United. Is he out the door again?
I can't see it. It's too early. Everybody can point to different reasons why we haven't seen the best out of Pogba. It's positional, playing too low, playing defensively, not in the right spot. He wants to play a little bit higher. I tend to agree with him. I can't see Manchester United giving up, and I'm going to say this is a miss.
Antonio Conte to PSG.
I think this is nailed on. I really do. I think his days are numbered at Chelsea. I just think for all the different factors, we all know the rumours about, He's unhappy with the chairman, he's unhappy with the owner, he's unhappy with the people that signing the players, he's unhappy with the players. So it seems to be going a little bit south for Conte at Chelsea. But I think that this guy would be absolutely perfect for this football club. That's what they need.
All right, so we've got Pogba, Dembele and Umtiti staying put. And we've got Conte to PSG to start the revolution again. And Alderweireld to Manchester United.
This is on Man United supporters' wish list. If they get him, dynamite.
Enough said. Join us again soon for more Transfer Raiders.
A tough week for Spurs fans, of course, after that defeat against Juventus at Wembley. Paul, it's the first time we've had you on, really. They're obviously against Bournemouth this weekend. What did you make of that defeat?
Well, if they take the chances early on, I mean, it's more or less game over. But you always knew that if they didn't take the chances, you knew that the quality of Juventus would, if you leave them hanging around, they'd probably come and hurt you. I thought the changes that the coach made for Juventus was a massive difference maker. And it's just one of those things for Spurs. They just really didn't have enough personnel to rally the troops and get it done. So, I didn't see it coming. I thought that they would get the job done. But Juventus is such a difficult side. So much experience.
There's no point feeling sorry for themselves now.
That's the thing, isn't it? Moving forward.
The damage is done. They've had, I don't know, back in the UK, how much praise or criticism they've had. Maybe it was 50-50. I don't know. I don't care. They've got to move on. They've got to look to deliver the FA Cup, because that's what people talk about. Spurs are not delivering the trophies recently. They've got to try and deliver that, and they have a chance to do so. And they've got to cement their place in the top four, preferably above fourth place, because fourth place could be jeopardised by potential Europa League victory. Dare I say it, for Arsenal, if they pull the finger out. It could happen. It's unlikely, but it could happen. So they've got to push in that top four to try and absolutely cement the place in there. And then see what happens next year when eventually they move to this new stadium. It's
fair enough saying that. Obviously, it's the right attitude. But you must have been there. You've had a big defeat. Trying to lift yourselves for that next game. How easy, how difficult, how defining is it?
It depends who's in the dressing room now. It has happened to me before. We lost up at Middlesbrough. Then we went to play UEFA Cup final. Had to get ourselves up for it. We did. It's all the people that are in the dressing room. The strength of that dressing room sees you through.
You look at the personnel in that dressing room, you get a sense that they will be able to regroup to get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been playing well enough. That was a big blip for them in midweek. They've been playing well. Bournemouth threw a late goal away last week and dropped points at Leicester. Expect them to go there and put a marker down at Bournemouth and say, look, we've put that behind us. We're back and we're going to finish the season strongly.
PSG were supposed to be dominating Europe, but for the second successive season, it's a round of 16 exit from the Champions League. This despite having the two most expensive players in the world on their books, although, of course, Neymar wasn't available for that second leg.
Even so.
Unai Emery has been there 1.5 years.
Yep.
He's only got a 2-year deal. Can he ride this out?
No, absolutely not. No. He was brought in to further this football club in the Champions League. They give him the money to do so. He bought some fantastic players, apparently, but they just didn't do it. And it sort of stems back for me, to the penalty incident earlier in the season. Cavani and Neymar having a bit of a spat, who's taking the penalty. That wasn't dealt with. You've got to be the boss. When you've got high-profile players with egos the size of the earth, you've got to jump on these players. And he didn't do that for me. So that was a sign of weakness. And for him to be knocked out of the Champions League, it's just unacceptable. And the way they got knocked out, I mean, you'd think they'd come into the game playing like lions. They didn't. They played like kittens. And Real Madrid, second gear, cigar in the mouth, it was too easy for them.
OK, so not surprisingly, there's a long list of names now being linked with taking over from Unai Emery, either before the end of the season or presumably in the summer. This is, I mean, it's a big list. It's a well-renowned list. Your man's at the top of it.
He most certainly is. Antonio Conte, I think he's exactly what this football clubs need. He's so resolute in his vision for the team. His training methods, some find it difficult, but they get results. Look at what he did at Chelsea when he came in last season. Was able to win the Premiership. I remember going to a game, watching him coaching against Guardiola in City last season, and they beat him 3-1. He wasn't showboating on the sidelines. He was making sure that his front three, Pedro, Diego Costa and Hazard, They were fairly difficult players to handle, so I'm told. He never let them have 1 minute, 1 second of breathing space. He was always onto them about being, when they're out of possession, where they should be. Now, that's what this football club needs. They need somebody to go in with a vision, with a track record that the players will immediately respect and say, OK, we've got to batten down here, lads, because this guy means business. I think he'd be perfect for this football club.
But the only caveat perhaps being the way it's kind of going downhill at Chelsea now, where he's falling out with the owners, but also his Champions League record isn't great. But you'd back him at PSG.
Yeah, because I think the owners will back him as well. Look, with financial fair play, wherever all this comes in, whether he can sign other players, whatever he can do. But surely there's enough talent there to get a better performance than we saw. I mean, yes, they didn't have Neymar, but even with Neymar, would they have been able to overcome, a very talented Real Madrid side? So I back him. I think if you look at the list of candidates that are available, I think he'd be perfect.
All right, well, that's Paul's man. Let us know who you think should replace Unai Emery. And again, we should mention he's still in the job at the moment. We wish him the best over the next few months as he tries to ride the turbulent waves at PSG after another Champions League failing.
Serie A returns this weekend. We've already seen Roma beat Torino by 3-0. Roma stretching their lead over Lazio to 4 points in third and fourth, respectively. When it comes to big matches, all eyes will be on Inter against Napoli this weekend. Napoli coming into this game as favourites, 42%. Inter at home at 30%. The draw, 28%. Julian, this is it, isn't it? This is a real test for Napoli and where they stand in this title race.
Yeah, you're right. It's a huge test of character. We will see what this team is really made of, because last weekend must have hurt a lot. Juve winning in the last minute away at Lazio, and then Napoli at home being beaten by Roma, suddenly having the lead of just 1 point with Juve again in hands, and that pressure is huge now. And they go away to Milan against Inter, who didn't play last weekend, obviously, because their game against Milan in the derby was postponed due to Davide Astori's passing away. So you think like, wow, this is the pressure. This is the game that they have to win and show that they have recovered from the Roma defeat.
Mentally, how do you go into this game if you're Napoli? Because as Julian said, it's such a massive blow last week. You saw Juve get that late winner. You lose at home against Roma, and you kind of think, oh, it's Juventus. They're not gonna let us get away with this easily.
So that's an even bigger, carrot dangle that you can't slip up.
Right.
You've had one that might cost you. If they have another against Inter, who, by the way, have been pretty poor after a decent start to the season, once they got to Christmas and New Year, they've kind of faltered. If they draw against Inter, I think it's done.
Yep.
Oh, really? That definitive?
Yeah, I mean, beaten. Yeah, if they draw, I think it's done, because I think then Juve would win their game in hand, probably win the other one. It'd take them, 4 points? I think it's crystal clear for Napoli. One slip-up might cost them, second one will. Yeah,
we'll find out what Napoli's all about. I mean, that was a stinging result against Roma. They pointed to the fact that they say that they played well, but they still got hammered. They still lost the 3 points. Inter are just getting a little bit of form, 1-2 out of the last 3 games. So this is, I agree with Craig. There's got to be a result in this game. If there's no result for Napoli, forget about it. It's not happening.
Julian, do you agree with the boys? It's do or die?
Yeah, I mean, Juve, once they get in front, you won't catch them, and they know that. The only thing maybe is that Juve obviously progressed in the Champions League. Napoli just gave the Europa League away, basically, in the last round. So there will be a little bit fresher, but they've played so many games. Physically, surely, they must be tired as well. And I agree with the boys. If Juve go in front, then they will never catch them again.
That's the other side of the coin. That the Juventus sort of juggernaut from their league is still rumbling on in the Champions League. It might not be as well oiled as it once was, but it's certainly still moving in the right direction. Whereas Napoli went out in the group after a poor performance, certainly losing at Shakhtar in match day 1. So that was a blow for them. Through the Europa League in to concentrate on being the best team in Italy again. So that's even worse for them if they blow it now.
Yep.
If they blow it now, I mean, I can only imagine in Naples, their fans.
Welcome then to Extra Time. The end of the week is here. How are you, Mr. Mariner?
Splendid. Splendid.
Good?
Splendid.
Looking lovely. You're up early. What are you doing on your phone?
I was just checking some very important material out.
Oh, really? Wow.
No best of the week?
No best of the week this week. No, because of the snow, apparently.
I tell you what.
Issue.
Snow, what? The wrong kind of snow? Too deep snow, too heavy snow, too cold snow?
A lot of snow, wasn't it, to be
Not
fair?
particularly. We've had a lot more in this part of the world in previous years.
And still best of the week
best of the week was chummed out.
He loved it.
Trains, the trains weren't running in time, there was leaves on the track. What's the next excuse?
No aeroplanes.
Huh? No, the planes
No
weren't,
aeroplanes.
trains weren't running, the boats, even the boats weren't going.
Passport.
Can't do it. Max and Hert podcast, well, gee, but I bet that was on. Well, the same guy does it. I won't mention any names.
Well, I think you pretty much have.
Well, no, mate, Max.
Who is more likely to complete a treble this season? Get ready, Paul. You can have 3 options.
Uh-oh.
Barcelona, Manchester City or Bayern? Manchester City can't really do a treble because they're out the FA Cup, if you were to scrutinise this in a little more detail.
Barcelona.
Oh, why? Why?
Well, because the treble
Yeah.
is the Champions League, the Premier League and the FA Cup.
Or not the League Cup?
Oh, you don't think League Cup when you think treble, do you?
I don't think
He
so.
does.
I don't think treble.
Right. Well, it says a treble, I'm now being told, not the treble, so therefore I'm wrong. Right, anyway.
I'm going to change the answer. Barcelona.
Oh, what was the first answer?
Barcelona.
Right, okay. Julian's here. Julian, Barca, City or Bayern? PSG obviously can't now.
I go. Yeah, that's a shame. I go for City. I
Yeah?
go for City.
Yeah.
Julian, how angry do you get on a scale of 1 to 10 when the producers keep you sitting there for ages and it's 5 hours? What time is it? I mean, it's like late now in London and you have to sit there listening to the rambling fools in this studio and your family's at home. How angry do you get?
No, I love it. It's okay. It's okay.
No, Julian's still young. He's not like you when you used to just pull the plug out.
Hold on. What do you mean he's still young?
Why, he's still young, isn't he? He's not like bitter old curmudgeon like yourself.
I'm not old.
How old are you, Jules? Jules has got to be in his 30s.
Yeah.
30.
Jules,
37.
There you are, see?
Wait.
Jesus God, man, I'm only 8 years older than
But you're
Jules.
still old.
He's 20 years older than me.
I look it.
Nate, look at barely alive Clive.
60.
Wow.
Hey, hang on. 65, not too
It's
shabby.
looking
What's
good
wrong
for
with you?
65. I mean, when you used to do this before you moved over here.
Yes.
Oh, they were
I'm
lovely days.
coming back to
Then
see
you would just walk out.
when you're 65.
I would just walk out.
Exactly, see?
My favourite is ever times when I used to do this show, which used to be called Press Pass, before it was on in the US, was whenever there was some technical difficulties. Because
Yes.
I would phone our boss and he would say, "Don't worry, you'll get paid," and he never got the anyway out. You get
Before you're out the door.
And I was gone. I was in the car and I was heading back up the M1 to Nottingham where I lived at the time.
Tell you what, Jules, if you ever got a better place to be, just pull some plugs out and you'd be sorted.
Yeah.
But then you might have to go to Gab's house. Gab's got a studio in his basement, doesn't he? So they might just relocate you there.
Gab's weird. It's weird. It's a strange man.
What should PSG change to win the Champions League other than the coach, Jules?
Poof. Get a good left back, get a good defensive midfielder, probably get a better keeper as well. I think the manager is probably the key, the biggest one of all. But also all around the club, I think the institution is lacking a lot, and it's something Arrigo Sacchi has been saying this week. And the boys have hinted at it with Neymar. Neymar at some point got bigger than the club, and that can't happen. If you want to be a big club and win the Champions League, you can't have that kind of situation.
By the way, there's other players at PSG as well that are going to be.
What's wrong with your eyebrow? What are you doing?
Well, it was itchy. You know, it's all very well talking about one guy, but I mean, there's some potential big stars. I mean, we've talked about Mbappe. What about Rabiot? You know, this guy is going to be a.
You love Rabiot.
Yeah, I think for the next decade he could be one of the most instrumental midfielders in European football. So there's no guarantee that's going to be at PSG. I know he's French, but there's no guarantee it's going to be in France. So Neymar's not the only issue.
You got Verratti getting stupidly sent off.
But he's a very good player. Extremely good player.
Final tweet from Garlic Bread. Do you like garlic bread?
Love it.
I would.
Massive fan.
Where do you stand?
Where do you stand in Gaelic
Oh,
bread?
Yeah, big
massive
fan.
fan.
Where do you stand on food in England in general, Jules? With your French ways?
There's a few things I can't, like mint sauce with the meat.
Yeah,
What?
This is not possible.
Lamb.
This is
Come
not possible,
on.
boys. This is not possible.
Yours-
Cheesecake, it's not possible.
No.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake?
What about
No.
That's not
no.
English.
what about Yorkshire puddings? No.
He is
Oh
a
yeah, love them. Love
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. What's your delicacy then, Jules? What's your go-to?
Kebab.
them. No, it's French cheese, obviously.
That explains a lot.
So not like I don't like kebab, like
Not a kebab at 4 in the morning.
bouncing home very late at night in a very wasteful way.
3 in the morning.
That way. I always have one when I go back.
Yeah, I had one when I was back.
They're the most unhealthy,
Yeah, 4 in the morning.
horrible
Yeah.
things you can eat. But there's when you live here, it's a kind of a.
So
it's a
when
must.
you go back home,
Yeah.
after what you've been telling me today, are you going to get fired in?
Well, that's 2 months away when I'm going to
Exactly.
I mean, this is we're bringing into the fact of this Craig's diet, which has been much talked about.
It's not really a diet. I'm not.
No, but you
it's my
haven't-
training.
Healthy living.
You haven't had a drink for a month.
Correct. Well, alcohol.
Yeah.
I've no drink for a month. No
Unfortunately,
bread. No
the
bread
liquor
for a
store
month.
near where you left is now closed down.
Yes.
The profits have done. Sorry, kids, you're not going to college.
Well, there is that because I've been a regular in there since I moved. But yeah, it's.
The discipline in that man there is absolutely incredible.
It's impressive. So, had Tottenham possessed the money PSG has, do you think they would give them a further push in the Champions League and possibly win
I am
it?
going to a St Patrick's night party this Saturday, which I know is a week early, but that's going to be my first real test.
Are you going to go to a party and not drink?
I'm thinking about it.
Do you think you'll pass the
But
test?
Stevie Nichol's going to be there.
Oh!
So I'm under
There's
pressure.
no way you pass the test. No way.
Well,
Okay.
Because you're going to be sending films out with you and him dancing, doing all
Right.
that stupid
what was the
stuff.
question?
Spurs,
Yes.
possessed, if they had the money that PSG had, would they go on to win the Champions League?
Well, it's
They'll be a lot closer.
It's just
than
not-
getting knocked out.
It's just not that simple.
No.
It's just not that simple as here's the money, you're guaranteed to get the players and you're guaranteed to gel them together. It's a wee bit more complex than that.
Well, then, that is it. Enjoy your party, Craig. Enjoy the Revs. Who have the Revs got? It's the home opener.
Colorado Rapids.
Yeah, I hear there's shackers on the
Massive.
phone for tickets, I hear.
Yeah.
By the way, my wife's begging me to drink at this party. Do you think there's a reason for that?
Yes, we all know that.
Just angry old
Of course.
curmudgeon in the corner, sober.
When did 40 become old?
40, no, you're not 40, are you?
I'm 40.
You're 40
41.
years old.
I'm in my 40s.
41.
40s.
Oh, in.
When's that become old?
That is it. ESPN FC is back on Sunday.
Scary.
Everything you need to know, of course, all the